Okay. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Judy Stelling, and I'm the director of the Guide and Skilling Program here at GetSetUp. And we're excited today to continue our initiative to expose companies and job opportunities to our community. And today we have Care.com with us. And Care.com is a platform that helps match families who are looking for caregivers with caregivers, independent caregivers who are looking to work on a full or part-time basis. There are a variety of caregiving opportunities available. And today we have Erin Windsor, who's the Senior Care Advisor at Care.com with us to share a lot more details about the company and the type of opportunities that might be available. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Erin and let her get started with some information for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Judy. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. And we'll get right into the content. All right. Can everyone see that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. All righty. As Judy said, my name is Erin Windsor. I'm thrilled to be here. As she said, I'm a senior care advisor at Care.com. I've been in this role for about 4.5 years, so talked to lots of families about the idea of senior care, how to implement it, what you're looking for. I'm a master level social worker by trade, and I'm just thrilled to be here talking to you about Care.com from a opportunity and employment opportunity perspective. So you might hear of Care.com. I know a lot of people say, well, I know about Care.com in terms of babysitting. Maybe you hear, the commercials online or on the TV or something like that. So I think a lot of people think about it as a way to seek babysitting for childcare. Some of you might have attended some sessions that we did last year on the GetSetUp platform, where we were talking about using Care.com as a way to find senior care for loved ones, spouses, yourself, etc. But I'm so happy to be here to talk about it as also a way to find some pretty lucrative employment opportunities as well. Specifically, I want to be talking about using Care.com as a way to become a senior companionship caregiver. So what does that mouthful of a title actually mean? Senior companionship caregiving is the idea of providing one-on-one care in the home to older adults who are needing support. Specifically, senior companionship caregiving is a type of care that is hands-off. So that means you're not assisting with medical tasks, certainly, so not like nursing services. And you're also not assisting with what we call hands-on personal care. So not things like bathing or dressing or toileting or things like that. What companionship caregiving gets at is providing day-to-day hands-off support with the tasks that are listed here. So that might be general check-ins, that might be providing conversation, that might be meal planning and shopping, grocery shopping and meal prepping. That might be light pet care. So if they have a pet and need some assistance with walking or potty breaks or feeding them. That might also include light housekeeping, errands and transportation, and I think perhaps most importantly, social engagement. So through all my time working with families, the reasons why families and older adults are seeking companionship care are endless, right? Every person's situation is a little bit different, but I think some of the commonalities that I witnessed as a social worker are to combat social isolation and loneliness. I think that's especially true through the pandemic. And so I think oftentimes, while many of this, part of this role is doing those practical things like grocery shopping or transportation or cleaning, a lot of it, I think, is focused on true companionship, providing engagement, socialization, support, etc. So that's kind of a rough overview of what exactly senior companionship caregiving is. but I want to perhaps more importantly talk about why you might think about this idea as a new role, a new venture in your employment journey. I think there's so many different reasons, but these are just a couple of the ones that I think have come up for me in working with families and working with caregivers who are looking to provide care to those families. Number one is the flexibility of schedule. You know, I think with so many jobs nowadays, they're kind of looking for a specific shift. These are your hours, and there's not a lot of conversation about whether that works for you. With being a caregiver, there is endless flexibility. That is hours that you work per day and total hours per week. That's the days that you work, the days that you have off, and even things like vacation time. You get to choose what works for you. For some people, that's working 40 hours a week, 9 to 5, and they're seeking a family who's looking for that. And for others, they're looking to work 12 to 2 on Mondays, and that's it, right? The beauty of a senior companion caregiver is that, in my experience, there's a family looking for everything. And so it really is up to you about what you're looking for in terms of scheduling. There's also flexibility in responsibility. So that list of tasks that I mentioned, this is typical, but it's not expected of every single caregiver. So if there are things on this list that you're not interested in, not good at, not wanting to do, that is absolutely your prerogative, and you're able to say, this is what I'm looking to offer. And like I said, there's so many families out there looking desperately for care that there will inevitably be a family who is looking for what you're offering. I think maybe the biggest point here that I want to talk about is just the meaningfulness of this work. As you can imagine, I think the day-to-day meaning of providing support and care to someone who is looking for that companionship, that support, it can make such a meaningful difference in that day-to-day. Put a smile on someone's face, help them get what they need. But I think it's so much larger than that as well. I think a senior companion caregiver can truly be the difference between older adults staying at home if they'd like to, rather than going to assisted living or a nursing home or moving in with a family member. I think it can also provide the most extensive peace of mind to family members as well. You know, just the utter relief I think that caregivers can provide to families is, yes, it's that day-to-day meaningfulness, but it's also so much deeper than that as well. The other thing that I think is really interesting with this field is that your life experience is work experience. I feel like so many of us have looked at job listings and it says it's entry level, but you need 5 years of experience. And it's kind of like, how do I gain experience if I can't get into the field? And the beauty of being a senior companion caregiver is that your life experience counts as work experience. So if you've cared for loved ones, a spouse, your parents, even childcare, all of that, while you may not have been paid for it, is relevant and a resume booster, so to speak. The other thing here, I think we've talked about this a little bit so far, but it's just the opportunity to foster meaningful relationships. Companionship is not a one-way street, even if one person is getting paid to provide it. I think there really is an opportunity to foster very, very meaningful relationships with the person you're caring for, with their family, and gain a lot from that. That's not just a service that you're providing, but a relationship that you're building. And the last point I want to make is that creativity is encouraged. Like I said, for a lot of folks, they're looking for those day-to-day tasks, sure, of meal prep and cleaning, but they're really looking for engagement most often. And sometimes that looks like the idea of a caregiver to work on scrapbooking or do gardening or go on walks. And you can bring your hobbies, your interests, your talents that maybe you're not able to get paid for in other industries, but you can bring to work and let flourish. So I just think it's a unique set of factors that makes being a senior companion caregiver a pretty unique role for all of these reasons. So I want to talk then, as you might know, it's kind of a caregivers market right now. There's a lot of need and some shortages around the country about, not enough caregivers for the amount of families that are looking to implement care, or the amount of older adults who are looking to hire someone. So with that, it means that you've got a lot of options. You could work with someone that you meet kind of word of mouth. You could work for an agency where you become an employee of a care agency, and they charge the families and then pay you as their employees. You become, a full-time or part-time employee. So why would you pick Care.com? To reiterate, Care.com acts as a marketplace where you can go on and create a profile as a caregiver. And then families who are looking for senior, child, home, or pet care will create a job listing explaining what they're looking for. You will then be able to respond to those job listings or message the family to say, that fits exactly what I'm looking for as a provider. Let's further this conversation about whether I'm the right fit. So Care.com is kind of this wonderful platform or marketplace that allows you to get paired with families in your area, but who are looking for, an endless list of different situations. So again, why would you pick that over working for an agency or something like that? Number one, there's no scheduling requirements. Most agencies that we run into have a requirement that you work part or full time. They require a certain amount of hours per shift and a net amount of shifts per week. With Care.com, you find what you are looking for. You advertise what you are looking for, essentially. So again, if you want to work Mondays from 12 to 2, there's probably a family looking for that. And you're not going to get that flexibility with working with a care agency. That also goes with choosing who you want to work with. So with agencies, you get paired with a family that your management staff thinks is a good fit. With Care.com, you do kind of a double-edged interview. So yes, families are talking to you to see if you'll be a good fit, but you're also able to make that decision about whether the family and the person that you'd be caring for is also a good fit. You're also in control of what you charge. With an agency, the rate that they're charging a family is not what you're being paid. They take a cut as a way to pay for their overhead. With Care.com, you and the family decide on what you are going to be paid. You are asking for a specific rate and you pocket that. There's also a lot of wonderful resources on Care.com that allow you to get kind of as much support as you'd like. So maybe you've done this type of work before and you've got it figured out. You don't need any support in terms of tax and payroll services. You are more than welcome to navigate it on your own with the family. Maybe you need a little bit of support in understanding tax and payroll regulations. There are a truly wonderful set of resources online as articles that you can go through. And then we even have a team that is dedicated, they're experts in tax and payroll services for privately hired caregivers that you and the family can engage with to actually take all of this off of your plate. So there's just these levels of support in this regard. And maybe the most appealing to you all right now is that you can sign up for free and there's no pressure to then move forward with this idea once you sign up. You can literally sign up, create a caregiver profile, and start exploring. See what you find, see what people are looking for in your area, see how other caregivers are talking about themselves on their profiles. And you can get a sense of whether this is something you're looking for without the pressure of saying, if I sign up, I'm committing to something. Some of us just need a little bit of time to kind of figure out what this is actually meaning for them. As I said, it is free to sign up. There is a premium caregiver membership that you can pay for. Essentially what that means is that you might be placed at kind of the top of the list of the caregivers that families see when they sign in. and you can reach out to families who are not actively looking for care, but that free membership is going to give you everything you need to find employment. The free membership is plenty. So that's kind of my spiel about why you might pick care.com, but I want to show you a quick video about one of our actual caregivers. This is Anna. She's a real caregiver on our site, and just think she does a wonderful job of just kind of sharing what I've just gone through. Let's see if the sound works first.
99% of my clients come from care, so it's a great advertising tool. It's a really good interface, and I talk about it all the time. My name is Anna Foster. I work with seniors. Care.com has been very helpful to me in finding clients, building relationships with them and their families, building my business and my revenue, and networking with others by helping them use Care.com as a tool to find help or to find ways to make a living. There's so much I like about Care.com. One is I like how easy it is to use and how I get great results. So I think that the cost for being on Care.com is commensurate with the amount of income I get from the work I do. So I think it's reasonable and fair, whether you're looking for clients or if you're looking for help for a loved one. It's just fabulous. I don't even look anywhere else for work.
Alrighty. You might have heard Anna say, you know, the cost is kind of equivalent to what she gets out of it. Anna happens to be a premium caregiver. Again, there is no cost if you don't want to have, have those a few additional perks. But Anna happens to be a premium caregiver. All righty. So I just want to, sorry about that. I just want to go through quickly kind of what this process looks like. If you decide to sign up as a caregiver, what does that look like on the care.com website? I will say that the website it makes it so obvious about what your next steps are that I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I definitely want to leave room for questions, but I'll just kind of show you what it's going to look like if you do decide to sign up as a caregiver. So this is what you'll see if you type in www.care.com to your desktop or your browser, and you'll see it's lots of different type of care. And you can go right up here and click apply to jobs. This is the same thing. It's just what it would look like if you were doing it on your phone. I think it just makes it a little bit easier to go through in a presentation. But again, you'll go to www.care.com on your phone. You would see this screen where you can select the type of care that you're interested in providing. You'll be prompted to either find care or provide care. You would pick the one on the left if you were interested in signing up as a caregiver, excuse me, the right. And then it will just start prompting you to create your profile. Where are you located by zip code and how far are you willing to travel? You then create your account with just simply an email address, a password, and they ask you how you learned about us. But I want to point out here, you're already getting information from care.com about how to be a competitive caregiver. So it says there are 43 new jobs near you at an average rate of $31 per hour. So already giving you information about what the average is, what other caregivers are charging, and you haven't even signed up yet. Past this point, you will be asked for some identifying information like your full name and your address to run what we call a care check. A care check is our preliminary background check to, again, ensure safety for families and caregivers alike. Our families are screened before they ever sign up for the website. It's not quite the same background check as a care check for caregivers, but they are screened when they sign up and ongoing to ensure that you are looking at real families who are looking for real care. Just a few other things here. Then you can pick the type of care that you want to provide. Household tasks and companionship care is kind of what we talked about, but there's obviously lots of other things listed here as well. What's your preferred pay range? Again, with a suggestion about the average in the area. What your schedule works best with. Is that recurring? Is that one-time jobs? Is that even live-in care? And then finally, when are you available? When would you like to start? when would you like to end? Maybe you just have a couple of months you're looking to fill. What days of week, what times of day, and even the ability to add specific times if you have, a stricter schedule. And finally, that you get thrown into the ability to find families from there. You can adjust your profile, you can add ratings from family members, friends, other people that are on care.com. You can ask them to review you to boost your profile. You can add a profile picture, which does help. A little tip there is that 3 times more likely to get jobs if you do have a profile picture. And then you are able to start searching. You'll see up here, here's just a couple of examples. This is someone looking for a male caregiver and driver in West Hollywood for Monday to Friday. Here's someone just needing companionship care Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, what their average range is. So you get a ton of information from these job listings, and you can click on them, respond to them, and start those conversations with families immediately. All righty. I think that's my spiel. Judy, questions? What do we got? Or folks in the Zoom, what questions do you have?
We do have a few questions in the chat, so we can start with those, but we can unmute, or you can unmute yourself and ask a question if you wanted to. But the questions in the chat, Erin, are Shirley's interested to know a little bit about the employment arrangements. And specifically, she's saying, do you need to report income on income tax? And I think that leads into a bigger question that maybe you could explain how the employment arrangement works, that people are, are they employed by care.com? Or are they employed directly with the family? Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, great question. Thank you, Judy, for prompting that. And whoever asked it, great question. So you would not be an employee of care.com. In fact, you are navigating the employment relationship directly with the family that you're choosing to provide care for. We make suggestions about writing a contract with that family. We actually have a wonderful template online that can advise you on how to do that. Tax-wise, you are actually technically what we call a household employee. So there are certain tax regulations that the family would need to be aware of when entering into that private household employee business relationship. We have so much information on our site about how to navigate that tax question. And like I said, we even have a team of experts that can handle all of that for your relationship with that family. But to kind of be simply answered, you are not a care.com employee. You are in fact privately employed by that family, right, and navigating that business relationship with them.
And I just want to add, everybody is responsible for their own personal tax situation and handling that. It's not care.com is not involved in that at all. So you would have to reach out to your own tax advisor to get income tax advice on how it's best, what you should be doing. And the other question is do you need a police check? So I think that's in reference to the care check that you talked about. Is that a full background check, or what's included in that?
Yeah, great question. There is a resource on our website that talks about in-depth what the care check is, but it is kind of from a high level. It is what we would refer to as a preliminary background check. So they look at things like sex offender registries, local municipality registration lists, and just kind of some bigger kind of criminal lists. It varies by state a little bit, so I don't want to tell you, this is exactly what it's going to look like. There is a wonderful resource on our website that says, what is a care check? And it will tell you all of the specifics of what is actually looked at when you provide your specific information. But it's nothing that you have to do. So you basically provide us with that personal information, and then we run the background check on your behalf for free through our secure vendor that runs those background checks. So it's nothing that you have to bring to the table. You just have to consent to us running that background check.
And then the last question from the chat is this available is care.com in Canada as well as in the United States, or is it just US?
Yes, so it's available in 17 countries. I'm 99% certain that Canada is one of them. But yes, so 17 countries that we're operating in right now. And now that I'm thinking about it, I've definitely spoken to families in Canada. So yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions from any of the participants? Okay, so one of the questions,
I,
oh, go ahead,
hi,
Joe.
sorry, I had a question. In terms of things like liability, I mean, I come from a legal background, so these sorts of questions I think about, you know, what happens, and what I'm drawn to is elder care, just because I have just spent the last 2 years doing that with my mom. And I
Sure.
feel that maybe I have a role or a contribution to make in that area. And
Absolutely.
I think about the liability aspects. Two things, the liability in terms of if something happens to the person while you are taking care of them, yeah, like a medical issue. What are the possible risks to you as a caregiver? And the second thing is safety. Personal safety, going into environments and homes where, do you screen the persons who are doing the hiring on care.com? Oh.
Great question, Joe, and I think really important to be thinking about as a potential caregiver. And I love that you called out that life experience as work experience. Yes, so there are a couple of different kind of avenues to think about your question. So number one, families, when they sign up, do go through a screening process. Now, again, it's not the same background check that caregivers are going through, but it is an initial and then an ongoing screening process where we're again looking at safety, ensuring that those are, you know, actual families that you're interacting with. So there is a preliminary level of screening that families go through to get on the website. And then in terms of things like liability, I will be upfront with you that care.com doesn't provide kind of like liability coverage to families that choose to work together, but there are so many options in that regard. So many families do seek out, you know, liability coverage from everything from like homeowners insurance to additional policies that the family themselves may seek out. And then caregivers have options to consider that as well. Again, I think there are endless resources on our website that kind of give you some ideas about what to pursue. And then we do have that team of experts that can advise you on specifics about policies and what to consider. I also will say that caregiver protections and things like that do vary a little bit by state. So, you know, I don't want to give you kind of a blanket answer, but there are resources on our website, including that team of experts called HomePay that can advise you on what's going to be relevant in your state.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
One of the other questions that I had, Erin, are caregivers, I know on some of the marketplace sites, the providers are rated. Are caregivers rated on care.com?
Great question. Yes, in two ways. So caregivers that have worked with other families on care.com, you know, maybe they are adding to the amount of care that they're providing per week. So they're working with 2 families per week, or maybe the previous family doesn't need the caregiver anymore, and so they've moved on to other roles. Those families that they provided care for can rate their caregivers on, it's a 5-star rating. Of course, that if you're signing up for care.com the first time, you wouldn't have that. But as I mentioned, as we were going through my slides about how to sign up, there is actually an opportunity to request ratings from previous employers, reviews from previous employers, others that can speak to your life experience as work experience.
And then do you have any tips for somebody who might want to be considering being a caregiver? What they can do? I know you mentioned about putting their profile picture or their picture in their profile, but other tips for them that they might do to increase their employment opportunities or their success in the role?
Yeah, great question. I think there's a number of things, starting from signing up. I think this industry and these roles as senior companionship caregivers are pretty unique in that your personality is a big factor in what families are looking for. I think in so many other jobs, they're looking, can you complete X task with Y skill, right? And of course, there is some of that in this role, but there's so much about, is this going to be the right personality fit? Is this person going to be caring and supportive and, direct but empathetic? Those qualities, I think, can be written and included in your description about yourself in your caregiver profile. So there's an opportunity to let your personality shine, so to speak, and I would really encourage you to do that, to let your personality shine through your caregiver profile. And then, I think there's also an opportunity to let your personality, your skill, your expertise show when you're messaging families as well. And that also goes through interviews with those families as well. So I would think deeply about kind of, if you were seeking a caregiver, what would you want in that person? What qualities that you have would make you an appealing caregiver if you were coordinating care for a loved one? And I think, again, I come back to this phrase of life experience as work experience. Think through the experiences that you've had that, again, lend a hand to your qualities and your skills that aren't kind of these technical skills of, yeah, I know how to cook meals or something like that. You know how to be warm, empathetic, giving. On the other side of that, I would also suggest that I think most people see success when they are flexible. Families are often looking for flexibility and kind of interesting setups with how often they're being provided care or when and how. And then another thing is just being willing to advocate for yourself. As I said, it is a caregiver's market. You will find endless opportunities on care.com. And so I think it's best if you are ready to kind of advocate for what you're looking for, a situation that's going to make you happy and fulfilled and provide you what you're looking for, and being willing to advocate for that.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
Yes. I'm Martha, and I live in Pennsylvania part of the year, and I live in Florida part of the year. And I consider myself, for lack of a better term, an age well advocate who I myself am aging, and I live in a retirement community in Florida as a snowbird. I'm familiar with a lot of things that go into choosing a senior living situation. Is there any market? And again, I want to do that. I want to do this. I don't know. I don't want to work full time. I'm 70 years old. I don't want to work full time, but I've really helped people understand what works for them moving to a retirement community and what doesn't, what to ask for, what to look for. Is there any market for someone in a position like I'm looking for?
Yeah, wonderful.
Is there
question,
anything
Martha.
on care.com? Because I just went in and quickly created a profile in there just to see how easy it would be, and it's very easy. There's so much need. There are so many people who don't have an idea where to start with either aging in place, aging in their own home, safety issues, all of those kinds of things. And I studied a lot of this, and I have lots of resources, and I don't know where to go with it, and I don't know what to do with it, or how to move forward, or if there's even a need. But I believe there's a need.
I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely think there's a need, and I do think that what you're describing may not be typical caregiver profile, right, on care.com, but that doesn't mean that it's not needed or of interest from families.
Okay.
As a social worker who works on most often with families on the other side, I will tell you that there are so many families who are looking for more than care providing, right? They're looking for more than, can you show up at 8 a.m. and help with X, Y, and Z, and then you go, and that's it. There are families that are looking for someone who takes a vested interest in their loved one. There are older adults who are looking for someone who will advocate with them and go to medical appointments and be active in decision making. And I think that privately hired caregiving, like you would find on care.com, as opposed to being employed with an agency, there is the flexibility to use those skills. So just personally, I know that there's so many families that I've worked with that are looking for so much more than just someone who, you know, can do those day-to-day tasks. Now, there are families who are looking for someone who can just show up and do those tasks. And there's others who are, I think, really looking for an advocate. And if you described yourself that way on the website, I think you'll find a lot of families who are looking for just that. So I think there is an opportunity there for sure.
Erin, is there a possibility that I could connect with you via email, or is that not possible? That and I'll leave that up to it. It's a GetSetUp thing, I'm sure. I just, you've answered a lot of my questions, and I think that there's opportunities here. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but think about it.
Yeah,
So
no, it's
Martha,
a great question, Martha. Go ahead, Julie. Sorry.
I was just going to suggest, Martha, if you have questions, if you just submit them into our support, they can direct them to me and then I can help get those answers for you.
Okay, thank you.
That sounds perfect.
Uh-huh.
Great.
All right. If we don't have any other questions, I know we're a little bit over time. Andrea did post a link in the chat if you can take a minute to look at it. It's just a really short feedback form about our employer showcases, and we'd love if you could just take a few minutes to fill that out, click on the link and fill it out, or copy and paste it. Other than that, we thank you so much for joining us here today, and I hope that it's been informational to you. And if anybody else has questions that come to mind after the event, as Martha did, just submit them to some support and they'll get them routed to the right place. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Erin, for sharing that information about care.com.
It was wonderful. Thank you for having me. And thanks everyone for participating.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.